So for today, I prepared basically my analysis of the final from the uh, Opera Rapid between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley So. And today we will analyze and discuss what happened between in the match between those two great players. Wesley So managed to win the match, and I wanted to bring basically highlights from their competition, because I think there were lots of interesting moments in the match, and I wanted to share with you my analysis, my kind of like thoughts about it, and discuss basically what happened or what could have happened. So without further ado, let's get started. So in the first game, basically I'm gonna pretty much uh, we're not gonna be talking about entire games pretty much, because 8 games, to basically cover 8 games in 1 hour is pretty much impossible, especially with such strong players like Magnus and Wesley. So I'm gonna pretty much show the critical moments, some very instructive, moments whenever I think something would have been played better or was played very, very strong, and so on. So let's get started from game number 1. So in the first game, we got this position. So basically, I'm gonna be asking you questions as well. So yeah. So in this position, White played. Magnus played with White, and Wesley played with Black. So in this position, Magnus played move A3, and yeah, the idea is bishop takes c3, queen takes c3. It happened in the game, knight e4, bishop takes d8, knight takes c3, bishop e7, rook e8, bishop d6, knight takes e2, king takes e2. And basically we got this end game, which is pretty much equal, like pretty much the entire game was equal. And the position pretty much simplified immediately. However, after move a3, can you find a better move here for Black than bishop takes c3? Is there maybe a better move to start with? Why was the queen sacrificed? Okay, where was it sacrificed? Queen c3, queen c3, knight d4. It wasn't sacrificed, it was traded. So I take, but on d8, but also Black takes on c3. And basically things are getting simplified. Let's say bishop e7, hitting the rook, I attack the bishop back. You retrieve the bishop, knight takes the bishop, king takes the knight. And we got this position. So everything is equal. So it wasn't sacrificed. Coming back to this position, in what Black to play in here? What Black should... Okay, actually, I will flip this. I will flip this. Black to play in this position. What would you do? MJ says maybe knight c5, but no. Okay. Chess king. Okay, so MJ, you served out it. You served out it yourself knight c5. And yeah, knight c5 is the best move. Knight c5 is sort of trapping the queen. After knight c5, basically the queen is in deep trouble right now, because after queen b4, a5, both squares are taken under control. The queen cannot go there, so queen b5 has to be played, and right now either bishop a6 or bishop c6 both win the queen. So basically, yeah, like here, let's say the queen is trapped, and Black simply wins. Move number what? 13, 0, 1. So even in the game between, you know, such players like Magnus and Wesley, such opportunities occur and they sometimes go unnoticed, which is astonishing. I find. I find that astonishing, but you know it means that people are still people. They are prone to making mistakes. So after a free, you know, Wesley didn't play knight c5, so this was his big missed opportunity to basically just seize that lead in the match since game number 1. Knight c5 would be a huge tactical blow right now to Magnus right now, and basically black is just much better, because if queen c2 or queen d1, let's say queen d1, then we look at the bishop takes c3, b takes c4, let's say knight d4. This is horrible. We are taking pawn structure is horrible. We can also take the on g5 maybe. Black is just huge advantage. So after queen c2 it's just the same thing, but right now bishop e4 has to be played, and the queen has no better square than d1, because if queen c1 there is knight b3, also if queen d2 then also knight b3 and black wins. So queen d1 will have to be played, but anyway bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and let's say you know, even just h6, and then we can play just anything, and black has huge advantage. Black has, you know, huge advantage in this position. So you know, this was a huge miss here by Wesley So, who didn't play knight c5, and the position after bishop takes c3, queen c3, knight d4, all those trades became pretty much equal, and the position remained equal for the majority of the game, up to a moment when Magnus was trying to push for a win too hard, and he got in trouble. So I want to talk about this position. The last move, Magnus playing with g5. Can you find a really nice move here for black? f5, h6 to forcing to open the g file. F5 is a blunder, right? It's just f5, a takes f5. H6 to force him to open the g file. Well, I think white wants to open the g file. White played g5. White played g5 to open the king side, sort of. So h6 sort of helping white with this. Bishop takes b5 is a horrible move. Bishop takes b5, you know, voluntarily creates, you know, white a supported passed pawn on b5, so this cannot be any good. And h5 also is similar to h6. Basically, okay, this maybe is too difficult. I'm gonna show you what happened. Basically, right now Wesley So played very instructive and nice move of bishop e8. And the point is the bishop comes to f7. I find it very instructive, because bishop is similarly well placed on c6, but it finds even better location on f7, where it supports, hits pawn c4 in case white goes rook g1, rook g7, or anytime soon. Let's say after g takes f6, g takes f6, rook g1. You know, the bishop comes to f7, and basically the rook g7 never comes with a check, and pawn c4 is always under attack. So that's why bishop e8, bishop f7 was a very nice maneuver here by Wesley. And this is what happened in the game. And right now, Magnus, again, was, I think, too ambitious still. And he played a mistake. He made a mistake. He was probably supposed to simply go back, rook c1, and sort of, you know, just hold the balance. And yeah, position is pretty much still around equal. Perhaps black may be slightly better, because it's easier to attack, you know, pawns on c4, on light square c4 and a4 with the bishop, but still, you know, black should be totally fine. White should be totally fine. Everything is well defended, and the knight has potential of getting to d5 square. You know, it's should be around equal, even if black is maybe slightly better. Objectively is close to a draw. But Magnus played move very, I mean, he played too ambitiously. He played with rook to g7. So can you find a move for black right now? Use again missed opportunity right now for Wesley, because Wesley made a mistake, and after this the game was even till the end of the game, and the game was drawn. However, here Wesley missed a big chance to, you know, really put huge pressure on Magnus. Okay, two suggestions: activate the rook and king f8. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yes, and after king f8, rook h7, king g8, the white rook is trapped. That's the point. And king f8, rook h7, king g8, rook h6, king g7. The game is just over. White rook is trapped. While black wins. So after rook has to perhaps go back to g1. But why would you play rook g7 if you cannot just capture pawn on h7, right? So rook g7 was definitely a mistake by Magnus. After king f8, you know, this is attack. This is attack. You cannot take on h7 because I will show it again on the board. Rook is suddenly trapped, right? And has nowhere to go. Black wins. So rook g1 has to be played, but right now, you know, bishop takes c4. You know, we just win a pawn, and this would okay. Still, according to my analysis, still probably white can somehow manage to save this, but it's becoming extremely difficult. I don't think it makes sense to show the variations right now, because the most important thing is just to find king f8, and then we have this position just to play this. And we have lots of other games I would like to talk about, and we are still on the game number 1, so let's move to the next one, I think. But anyway, this was a huge miss again by Wesley. What is funny, however, after in this line, if he could have basically trapped Magnus's rook, but in the beginning of the game, he could have trapped his queen, right? After queen b4 and a5, he could have trapped his queen and rook in the one game. So it's kind of like rare. But anyway, this is what could have happened. Okay, so let's go to the next game. And in the next game, Wesley was playing with white against Magnus. And the game was very interesting. They played in Italian game this variation of two knights, basically after knight f6, knight g5, which is very sharp. Objective black is doing well there, but you know, it requires lots of memorization and very accurate, concrete play, and especially in rapid chess, it's easy to, you know, mix up things. So you know, okay, we can see this game, like, you know, from this moment. D5, it takes d5, knight a5, because it was all theory or like some preparation here by Wesley. c6, d takes 6, b takes 6, bishop d3, one of many moves. Knight d5, knight f3, bishop d6. This is all theory. This is all theory. Showcase rook e1, f5. Black sacrifices material, 2 pawns, in order to look for counterplay. White accepts the challenge, retreats. Then g5, g4 looks crushing. However, simple f4, knight f4, bishop f1, g4. Seemingly black, and the knight has nowhere to go, but white is happy to sacrifice his knight by playing d4, and after g takes f3, queen takes f3, white seeks sort of like counterplay and taking advantage of black knights being sort of, you know, loose on a5 and e6 and f4, while black plays knight e6. And right now I think it was on novelty, or almost no, it was novelty. It was one game I think played by queen c3, and idea is to hit the knight on a5 after b7, now c5, and bishop c7, b4. Basically, yeah, and after a5 play b5. So basically we got to this position, and this position Magnus, okay, this was all preparation here by Wesley, because I saw the interview. He made just a book course on this topic, and here he analyzed only c takes b5, and I looked into this line on by myself, and indeed c takes b5 right now leads to equality. However, you know, such position when faced unprepared, and Magnus clearly, okay, for sure he knew the line, but maybe he didn't remember exact move orders or something, and or maybe mix up some lines. You know, it's very easy to, you know, make mistakes in such positions. So it was a good practical choice here by Wesley, who definitely caught Magnus off guard. So after b5, pawn on you know, OCC is hanging. So and the point is, you know, the pawn, white pawns in the center are very strong. Black knights, especially knights, are a little bit kind of misplaced. On especially now b7 is kind of, you know, ugly, looks, you know, looks kind of ugly. King on g8 also doesn't feel really safe. This white bishop gets to c4 square, and it will be very annoying pin. So in this position, black Magnus play move queen takes d4, and queen takes d4 is a big mistake. It was a big mistake, and I will discuss in a moment why. Okay, actually, no, actually I can start. I can just tell you immediately, because after we discuss why it was a mistake, we'll see what was the best play instead. So queen takes d4 is a mistake, because right now, what can white do? Let me ask you this: what can white do here? What's the best move for white? Queen d4, rook e7. I guess it's possible, but it's not the best. Not exactly sure why, but I know it's not the best. Position is very complicated anyway. Yeah, bishop c4. Bishop c4 is the best move. Correct, bishop c4 is the best move. What happens in general in this type of position, because of this knight on e6, king on e8, we have to king on g8, we have to make use of this pin, and that's why bishop c4 is the best move. Bishop c4 is the best move, and after queen takes c3, knight takes c3, this pin is just extremely difficult to get out of, and white is nearly, if not winning, white is nearly winning. I analyzed it a little bit. I will show one example line, but you know, no matter what black does, white is winning here. For instance, what could be logical? Let's say, knight takes c5 seemingly is logical to at least capture the pawn and, you know, bring this knight to supporting knight on e6. But right now another pin is coming, bishop a3, and okay, so basically those pins are just crushing. And if the only move seemingly is knight e4, but then we can just take, and this position is very, very bad for black. There are two pawns, and two rooks. Rook and the two pawns are much stronger than the two minor pieces, because black king is extremely bad position right now. Also on e6 is hanging. On c6 is hanging. Position is open. They're all sort of open fast. Black pieces don't have support. White, because of that, white is simply winning here. So this would basically just pretty much end the game. So again, missed opportunity for Wesley, but after queen, he played queen d4. Queen d4 was a big mistake, because after knight takes d4, again, still possibly he could have Wesley fought for better, like here, you know, save the game with knight move knight c3. And according to my analysis, still white is worse, but sort of maybe holdable. I don't want to go into details, because some computer lines, we don't care about them. After bishop c4, seemingly very natural move. Right now Magnus doesn't run away with his king, but he gives back the piece. And right now, because of his bare development of pieces, after knight takes c5, You know, rook c6 doesn't work because of bishop e5 at least, and you know, those pieces are not developed, and suddenly rook on a1 is just lost, and black wins. So if rook e2, simply rook e8, knight c3, c takes b5, and because of those two pawns on the king side, sorry, on the queen side, you know, black simply wins because there's no way to stop them, and they're just going forward. There's pretty much no way to stop them. And in the end, I want to show one position from this game where I think Magnus plays something very, very instructive. So yeah, let's say this moment. Right now, you know, as I was saying, queenside pawns simply were going forward, and they went as in this game. So in this game, in this position, Wesley played bishop d2, Magnus played bishop e5, and bishop f4, because you know those bishops, this bishop supports, you know, a1 square, and if this, you know, with those bishops on the board, it's impossible to defend this with white. So Wesley tried to trade those bishops, but right now Magnus played bishop takes f4, bishop takes f4, and now one very nice move for black. What would you play? I think it's the highlight of this game. Rook b2. After rook b2, let's say I go rook c3, a2, rook a3, let's say, and I put my rook behind the pawn, and I think I can make a draw there. Okay, what happens after rook b4? What will white do after rook b4? Just king. Correct. Here's rook c7, rook a7. So where do you want to bring your king? Well, you can definitely bring up your king, but is not the most technical way to win this. The most technical way to win this is to play... No, not king h6, not king h6, king h5, no. First things first. Chess King suggested correct idea, but his execution was wrong. What is h5 even doing? h5 is a mistake. Rook b8, similar to rook b4, but doesn't work. King e6 possible, but not the most technical way to win this. Possibly also wins, because the king is just so active. Correct, rook b7. Rook b7. Very nice move by Magnus. And basically, the idea of rook b7 is to bring this rook to behind the pawn with rook a7, support this pawn. And the most important, not to give a possibility for white rook to get behind the pawn. Not allow rook c7 right now. And the next move rook is rook a7, and black just wins. And as rook a2 follow, rook a7, and now we can bring the king. And they were playing a little bit, and of course, you know, eventually the king gets through and black wins, and black won the game. So I'll show the final position. Final position was this. So basically black king got through, and there was no way to stop this king from going through. And you know, here Wesley with white resigned. So that was it. So let's come back quickly to the move here with b5. So queen d4 was a mistake that actually brought Magnus the win here, because Wesley didn't react properly. But after queen d4 again, bishop c4 is just crushing because of this pin on this diagonal. So in the best way to play here with black was to plays takes b5, bishop takes b5, and right now, again, idea for white to play bishop c4, bishop and brings the bishop here. However, the best move right now for black is to play move a4, which is extremely difficult to find over the board whenever you don't know the analysis, or like you didn't analyze, and whenever position is totally new and fresh. But the idea is to bring this knight to a5. And whenever the bishop comes to c4, you know, ideally we can stop this bishop from coming to c4, or at least we can chase it away from c4 if we can. So after bishop c4, knight a5, for instance, bishop d5, rook b8, queen e3, I analyze rook e8, knight c3, bishop d7, and this position is totally unclear. And you know, engines give like 0, 0, 0 everywhere. Position is, you know, just according to engines, totally equal. However, on human level, this is just total mess. I think both sides are taking a risk here. Yeah, anyway, this is what I wanted to show in this game. But anyway, after Magnus won with this move, a nice move, again I will show it, rook to b7 and bring the rook to a7, he took the lead in the match, and in the next game he was happy with just taking a draw with Berlin, you know, exchange Berlin with rook e1, and the game was very, very quick draw. We can skip this game. There was not much going on. The game ended with some repetition in such position after queen 3, and yeah, just going back and forth, and was a draw. And Magnus didn't make good use of his white color right now with white. And in the next game, Wesley So took his chance and played very nice game in Italian game in Italian. So he presented one very nice idea as well. So let's go basically there. So this is one of the topical position in the Italian with d3, d4. And yeah, right now there's a big theory here. I don't want to go into theoretical discussion about this, but I like a new approach here by Magnus. He played bishop g6, queen b3. This is all, let's say, have been played. Knight 7 has been played. Short castle, c6, bishop d3, and now knight f5, which is improvement over his game with Aronian when he played queen d7, I think, and in 2020, I think still. But now that knight f5 he played, which is an improvement, I think. Wesley played rare queen c2, but nevertheless pretty much very testing. And after queen c2, you know, Magnus came. I'm sure it was his still preparation. Play new move, knight takes c3. So far, has been played knight takes e3, f takes e3, knight g3. But after this, simply bishop takes g6. H takes g6, rook f2. I think white has some chances here because of the very strong center and bishop on b6 being sort of out of the game. And because of that, I think white has some chances, even though probably black is okay here. However, I think white has some chances. So that's why Magnus decided to play very fresh idea, knight takes c3, never has never been played. B takes c3, if bishop takes f5, simply takes, queen takes f5, knight e4 is totally okay for black, position is just equal. However, after knight takes c3, b takes c3 is better move. Now knight takes e3 followed, f takes e3, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, and now Magnus played very strong move f6. Idea is to resolve the issue of this bishop on b6, which is here out of play. Okay, thanks Joe for staying. I'll see you around. Bishop on b6 is a very bad bishop right now. It's hitting like a wall of those pawns, and we need to somehow get it to the game, bring it to the game. That's why the best move for black is to play f6, and that's what Magnus did. And right now, Wesley played move c4, which is a very interesting practical try, even though objectively doesn't give advantage, in my opinion. I mean, in general, it's hard to find an advantage here in this variation for white, but white can try different approaches, and c4 is definitely one of them. And he caught Magnus off guard in this position, because Magnus made right now a big mistake. So I will not ask you what to do here with black, because you know, even Magnus couldn't find it, and it's very difficult. Only with analysis with engines and so on showed how to get the equality here, which is not obvious, let's say, during the game. And we have to we have still a few games to talk about. So in the game followed bishop c7, which was a huge mistake suddenly. And let's understand what was better. A better move was f takes e5, knight takes e5, and right now very strong queen d6. I think this pretty much equalizes the game. And the point is that first of all, c5 doesn't work because bishop takes c5, and this knight on e5 is under attack from the queen, and black simply wins a pawn. So and if c takes d5, right now the point is that we had to get white knight to e5 square, and in order to take the recapture the queen on d5, because right now e4 is never possible because knight on e5 doesn't support the center. And okay, of course e4 loses because of weakest diagonal. Queen e5 both queen d4 and queen e5 win. Just to show it quickly, and this e4 is obviously doesn't work, and if d4 doesn't work, there is nothing that the white can do here. e4 is the main idea, and with queen on d5, queen on d5, it secures entire diagonal, and black king is safe, which was not the case in the game, which is a huge difference. And that's why here after queen d6, I think position is equal. The best I thought try for white is to play move rook f8, rook f8, rook f1. But again, here after rook f1, queen f1, white threatens to go queen f5 or queen f7, but black can deal with both threats by playing with queen e6. Cool move, but covers both squares. Idea is basically bishop c7, kick the knight out, position is just equal. No problems here for black whatsoever. It's just equal. Maybe in the long-term perspective, bishop maybe will become better than the knight. I don't know, probably not, but it is its position is just equal. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, that's why after c4, f takes e5, knight takes e5, queen d6 simply equalizes. And let's see what happened in the game, because Magnus played bishop c7, and right now after c takes d5, queen takes d5, c takes d5 would be creating a big weak pawn on d5, which also will be attacked very soon. That's why queen takes d5 follow. But right now after he takes f6, after let's say rook takes f6, suddenly this queen side, the queen on d5 is getting harassed immediately above e4. And the point is that including with the position in such position with bishop on b6 and knight on e5, white cannot do this. Right now it is possible because knight is supporting his pawn on d4, bishop on e7 is actually misplaced. It would have been better placed on b6, and right now white has huge initiative, and I think white is on the verge of winning. Let's say after queen f7 there is e5 or even knight g5. White has very strong initiative. Also e5 is probably very good. And yeah, so that's why in this position Magnus was decided to take with the pawn, but this creates a huge hole on f5, and Wesley comfortably delivered the win here. He played e4, maybe knight h4 was a little bit more accurate right now, then played knight f5, but e4 doesn't spoil really anything. Maybe Magnus would have defended a little bit better, but nonetheless white is almost pretty much everywhere much better, and Wesley comfortably won the game. c5 d5, obviously we push the pawn forward, rook b1, stopping all kind of counterplay, blockading here on the light squares. Very cool move, king h1 in any case, to avoid any sort of checks with bishop d4 and stuff. King h1, very useful move, very nice idea. And after bishop d4, simply rook f4, the game is just over. So here Magnus just decided to give away the exchange with rook takes e4, but it is not really saving anything, and because his king is just so weak. And yeah, so if bishop e5, let's say rook g4 for instance, would have been decisive. After this, rook g8 and d6 analyzed, and basically white is just crushing. This is never possible because of the pin. Yeah, this is just winning. This position is just winning after king h1. This is just winning already. So Magnus tried this to get some maybe practical corner chances, but after rook e1 the game is just over, and the game ended with nice rook g4 threatening rook e8. And if rook d8, queen f7 wins. So after h5, rook e8, just two checks, and queen c1, final decisive move. Queen comes to h6, the game is just over. So with this game, Wesley So equalized the score, and it was 2-2. And the next day, they played another 4 games, and and Wesley managed to win the first game. So let's see what happened. So basically, we can skip the opening part, but essentially Magnus got a little bit worse position out of the opening, and this position. Okay, here actually I want to start with this position. Wesley is to play a very nice move G3, and the idea of G3 is to play H4. Basically, whenever this knight is on G6 or B6 or B3 or G3, idea of challenging this pawn, challenge this knight with the rook pawn. Like right now, we can change this pawn knight with move H4. It's a very good idea very often, and that is to play move H5. So here in this position, Magnus simply overestimated his chances, and he captured bishop takes H4. And he missed Wesley's reply, and the game was just over in like in few moves. But this position was already kind of difficult, and he made some inaccuracy in the opening. He got this difficult position because right now White has very nice center, and the black it's hard for Black to come with some counterplay. So Magnus decided to just go bishop H4 and to try to complicate things, but or maybe he didn't. I mean, it was unnecessary. It was of course a mistake that he should have played with rook short castle, for instance. But anyway, position is bad. Is what I'm trying to say. Because after short castle, we can try also play H5, knight H8. Knight on H8 is not so good. Of course, it can come to game F6, b knight F7. But okay, knight on H8 is, for now is definitely a bad piece. We can consider playing H6. But also we can play like simple bishop d3, I think. After f6, simply queen e2. I hit the pawn on a6, queen b6, b3, and followed by bishop b2. And of course, because of such strong center, White is everywhere much better. It's just goes without the question. White is clearly much better. So even though he played bishop takes h4, of course this speeds the process sort of White winning this game, but. And it was obviously a mistake, but anyway, White's position was very pleasant and with great chances to win the game. So, but anyway, he miscalculated that after this, White has very nice defensive idea of rook e3. Rook comes through the third rank. So if you looked at the previous lesson of on Anatoly Karpov's game against Vlastimir Hort, rook swings through the third rank this time. So. The idea of Karpov, can be applied sort of even in such positions. So that's why it's really nice, really good to know such games. So right now Wesley is just winning. After f5, simply rook g3. Rook comes to this to protect the king, and knight f3 follows. If f takes e4 or something like queen g4, we can always trade queens. I mean, not immediately, but in the future. Also, idea of knight f1 and so on. The game is just pretty much decided already. So in the game for short castle, now simply knight f3, queen h5, knight e5, and yeah, queens are being swapped, and yeah, the game is just over. d6, and here a few more moves, but the result was never in question. Here Magnus resigned. So it was the first blood right now in the second day of this match. Drawn, and Wesley won the first match, or won the first encounter, and Magnus was ever since this forced to basically chase the score, and he never got to do it, even though he had great chances. We will see he had great chances in following games. So let's say what happened in the second game. And this was very interesting because out of the opening, it was, I don't want to discuss the opening, it was all theory, kind of like an Italian game. I think Magnus got a very promising position after move, like let's say here in this position he played knight f5. I think this position is very promising. And here, basically Magnus tries to win the pair of bishops. If bishop f6, there's possibility to play g4 and knight e4, bringing those knights to the game, and bring the bishop to f4. If bishop f5, g takes f5, wins the light square bishop. This bishop on b3 is very strong, and I think that White has some unpleasant initiative at least, and that's why Wesley plays some more solid rook e8. But this gives a possibility to take the pair of bishops with knight takes e7. And in this position it's just slightly better for White. But I want to ask you guys, what would you play with white in this position after bishop g6? White to play here, what would you do? Simply knight g3 and then f4 f5. Possible, but you're never gonna get the f4 f5 to work. I will play after knight g3, even, I don't know, knight c5, let's say. And I think our position is great. Bishop g5, already better move. But by some reason Magnus didn't go for it. Queen e2, queen c4, queen c4, I guess knight e5 I will play. I don't quite like this. Queen e2, also possible. Sounds like bishop g5 is possible. Knight g5, knight c5 again. I liked for the moves that you suggest the most, I think, bishop g5, but by some reason Magnus didn't go for it. And perhaps is my assumption that after bishop takes e4, bishop takes e7. Maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong, definitely. Yeah, maybe this is also possible, bishop g5. However, I wanted to explain the best move here for white, in my opinion, which is move f3. And it's what I've just said, yes, f3. Basically, we are not worried here with white about bishop takes e4, because bishop takes e4, f takes e4 opens the f5 for the queen, and also this pair of bishops will be much stronger than pair of knights. And we don't have to really worry about this e5 square, as we'll see in a second. You know, white, I think, has here a clear edge. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to click on that. Again, I'm sorry. F3, yeah, h6 followed. Bishop f4, very logical move. Knight c6 and rook e1, very logical as well, bringing the rook to the game. And right now, Wesley played bishop takes e4, and right now, again, we take with the pawn on e4, because we need to open the f file and make use of this bishop on b3. Because if rook e4, for instance, this would run into knight c5, and basically trading on b3 and e4, and basically the game is just close to being totally equal. Or it is just totally equal. That's why you have to take with the pawn, and to basically make use of this pair of bishops. So right now, knight c5. While black has, yes, very nice and strong knight on e5, but pair of bishops is way stronger. And you know, the knight on e5, it does only, you know, defensive tasks. Does nothing else apart from that. Bishop g3, rook e8, and rook d1. Idea right now is to play queen f5, put some pressure on those three squares, f7, e5, and d7. So right now, West decided to, you know, simplify the position with knight c5, and right now I wanted to basically just discuss this position. I will ask you a question, but I wanted to discuss this position. And basically right now there are two possibilities. One possibility is to play what Magnus played, bishop takes e5, which basically leads to by force to promising position, I have to say. But you know, some things are getting, you know, simplified. And we'll see exactly what happened in a second. But another possibility right now is to play bishop c2, and I like bishop c2 much more. And let's see why. Because with keeps pair of bishops, knights are sort of like, you know, are losing ground, because knight on e5, okay, this knight doesn't lose ground, but from c5 loses ground. Let's say we want to play b4 to chase this knight away, then play bishop b3 back. And the knight will have to probably just go back to d7, because otherwise I don't know what this knight is gonna do. Knight on e5 is, you know, have to be defended somehow, and knight d6 that's not possible because leaves the knight undefended. So knight d7 will have to be played back simply, right? But this is, you know, clearly to, if white has to play b4, bishop b3, you know, white can definitely be better in this position. That's why I think here, after bishop c2, Magnus would have retained very nice chances to win the game, and at least he would have had some advantage. But after bishop takes e5, I think the position is very close to equality, even though position is promising. I think it's very close to equality. Bishop takes g7, king takes g7, a takes b3, rook takes e4, queen f3, and here Magnus, Wesley had one chance to immediately equalize, and his move was to play move rook e5. And this is huge. This is very difficult to understand, say, you know, especially during the game, with your rapid game or blitz game with short time control, where rook e5, rook e7 is better because he played rook e7, seemingly very natural, you know, to cover, you know, pawn f7, potentially, you know, cover pawns on c7 and b7, also very logical, right? But rook e5 is just much stronger, because basically after rook e5 we are looking for counterplay. We are not defending passively by defending those pawns, but we're going for active counterplay. And rook e5 would have basically pretty much kept the game equal, because after rook f1 right now queen e6, the point is that after queen b7, with rook on e7 white would be winning. But with rook on e5, black has counterplay connected with rook e1, and that's the point. Right now queen e3 is a threat, and if rooks are traded, and you know, right now rook takes e1 will be just some sort of perpetual, or, you know, sorry, not perpetual, but like, you know, white king will be extremely weak. And here after queen e5, g3, queen 2 is not perpetual yet because queen g2, but we can play simply a5, and it is hard for white to make any progress here because those pawns on the queen side are sort of just blocked. And black pawns are, you know, well defended, king is safe. This extra pawn is pretty much irrelevant, in my opinion. So still, of course, white has some chances. White has some chances because of the extra pawn, but this will have kept the game just, I think, equal. Instead, Wesley played move rook e7, which I think was a big mistake, because right now after rook d4 was again mischance by Magnus. Instead of this, rook f1 followed by queen f6 would be a huge basically problem, because now queen 6 just simply wins queen b7. And you know, if not queen e6, I don't know what to suggest pretty much, because queen f6 is just a big threat, such a big threat. If king g8 even, I can, you know, go queen g3, king here just rook f6, I believe. Yeah, rook f6. Rook e6 just queen f4. Like even after queen trade, rook trade, you know, this is a threat, this is a threat. Essentially, black has to play like move king g8 or something, queen h6, white wins the pawn. And this is much more important point, because, you know, right now we have 2 versus 1, and those pawns are actually going forward. So this would have given Magnus huge chance to win the game. Instead he played rook d4, also logical, but right now after queen e6, followed by queen e3 idea, I think Wesley solved all his problems, and the game he had the game full in control. So the game, they played a little bit longer, but at some point the queens were swapped, and in the rook endgame, Wesley defended well, and the game was just drawn. So missed chances here for Magnus, the first missed chances. In next game, Wesley So played with white against Magnus, and in the opening, basically in this position, in this position, Wesley played bishop c2, which is a little bit odd. I think there was no reason not to play knight g3, and because knight d3 could just queen d3 doesn't. Yes, wins the pair of bishops, but it's pretty much irrelevant. And I think white could be slightly better. But bishop c2 is a little bit too passive, and right now Magnus played very strong with queen c8, and idea of, you know, bishop takes h2, going for ideas of connecting with bishop takes h3. And yeah, because of that, right now I think Wesley is in big trouble. I mean, not maybe big trouble yet, but let's say from practical perspective, it is very difficult to play for Wesley. It's very easy to blunder all sort of tricks with bishop takes h3 and so on. For instance, right now I think the best move for white was to play h4 or knight from 3 to h2, which both moves are, you know, difficult to play in my opinion. So such move like bishop b3 has been played, But right now Magnus should have just trusted his gut and play bishop takes h3, but he didn't do it. And this was his missed chance. I saw the interview, and yeah, he just missed that. After I think g takes h3, he has moved a4, which is very important detail, because the point is that this bishop has to be kicked out of this diagonal in order for black to access e6 square sometimes, and also maybe not to get simply pinned here on this diagonal. And very important other thing is that sometimes pawn on f7 is under some pressure. So for example, after let's say why a4 is so important. If queen takes h3, not a4, but let's say queen takes h3, then bishop takes f4, knight f4, knight e3, taking control over the g2 square. And right now after rook e8, the point is that white can save the game by playing knight g5, and right now knight takes f7 or bishop takes f7, and basically this position after, let's say, queen g4 is still dangerous because black can play rook e6 and so on. But after according to my analysis, after rook e6, knight f5, queen f6, rook 81, position is sort of balanced. Black somehow doesn't have any decisive, let's say, way to continue here, according to my analysis, obviously. So I think the position is just totally unclear. However, if we include move a4, none of this happens, because after bishop a4, the same line happens. But right now, bishop is not there, and rook e6. First of all, there is no knight g5, knight f7, because bishop is misplaced. And best move incidentally is just to go bishop b3, but right now we can play even d5 or even rook e6, both with huge chances for black to to attack. But let's say d5 I think is better. Rook g6, preparing rook e6, rook g6. Idea of rook e6 is that basically we want to basically play f takes d6, and now this rook comes there. So also it's very promising. However, it's a little bit less clear. I think d5 is just better because after knight g5, queen h6. Let's say queen g4, and we can just play queen g5, and basically this is the best what white can go for, and here black has just a clear extra pawn and great winning chances because of this fork, and black has great winning chances here. So this was the best right now try for Magnus, but he played e takes d4, and right now after knight takes d4 position is back again at equal. I think a little bit safer was bishop takes d6, just to get rid of this bishop on the light square bishops, just in case. And but after knight takes d4 followed, bishop takes d4, and right now again Wesley made a big mistake because he takes the queen takes d4. What kept the balance was c takes d4, and position is very close to equal. Because none of this bishop h3 stuff works right now. For instance, after this, bishop takes f4 first, takes, queen takes h3, knight e3, queen g4 is the idea. And if rook a8, yeah, just queen g4, simply trace the queens. And even though black has some counterplay here, still rook takes d4 and so on. At best, there will be 3 pawns for a piece, but white is not getting mated. I think white is pretty much safe in this position. After, let's say, takes, king g2, I think position is pretty much safe for white, and maybe even slightly better, maybe at some point. That's why takes d4 was very, very strong and the simplest path here for Wesley, but he played queen takes d4 by some reason, and right now Magnus was winning with knight takes g2, and this was again missed chance by Magnus. The point is after king takes g2, bishop takes h3, king h2, and now knight h4. Knight f3 is a big threat, so the only way to face this threat, or the most logical is to play queen d1, but right now there's possibility to play queen bishop g2 followed by queen h3, queen h1 with just checkmating attack, and the game is just totally over. Just over. There's mating attack. I think bishop g2 is what Magnus missed, and yeah, here is just over. So again, missed opportunity for Magnus with knight takes g2. He played bishop takes b3, and right now again this time Wesley played automatic a takes b3, which again is a mistake. So this game here was like sort of like a tragic comedy of errors for both sides, because again bishop takes f4 was kept keeping the balance after takes. The point is that we need to simplify the position, not to make in order not for black's attack not to be that strong. And yeah, after here a takes b5, a takes b3, I mean again knight takes h3 would have basically won the game again on the spot, because after, or no, would have won the game because after king h2, knight f4, black has simply extra pawn. Okay, queen d6 just is still possible, but there is some knight hg2 possible as well, I assume, or like even queen g4, black has a strong attack. And if g takes h3, this is losing for white because of knight h4 right now. And after queen knight f3 is coming, so queen d1 has to be played, and now queen h3, basically with checkmating threat and knight f3. No way to stop black from both. So after a takes b3, again missed chance for Magnus, knight takes h3, he didn't do it, play move d5, and d5 was a huge mistake because after right now Wesley had a huge chance to overtake, actually, to play bishop takes f4, knight takes f4, queen d2, and suddenly white wins the pawn. Knight has to probably go back and simply takes on d5, because the thing is, if queen c7 try to defend this knight, now g3, and the white cannot go for this because after king g2, knight is trapped. And you know, this knight has nowhere to go, and the white sort of just wins. Of course, black can play move like queen d7, but again, this knight is trapped, and white will be able to deliver a win here. Yeah, so you know, Wesley played queen d2 by some reason, and right now knight takes h3. The game got extremely messy. Eventually, the game ended with a draw. None of the sides had really any big chances. Maybe one or two moments Magnus had some chance here, but it was nothing really conclusive, I guess. And I think because nothing as conclusive as, let's say, here earlier knight takes g2 or knight takes h3 or bishop takes h3. Those were the main missed chances here for Magnus. So yeah, unfortunately here for Magnus, he didn't take advantage of his chances, and in the end the game ended with some crazy endgame like this, but Wesley managed to hold this, or maybe more like Magnus managed to hold this. Anyway, position just around equal, and the game ended with a logical result, which was a draw. So finally, let's okay, show the final position. This is how it ended. So finally, the last game here basically was just, I think, one or two moments where basically there could have been, you know, something really important happened. Basically starting with this position, you know, position is totally unclear, but here right now Wesley made a huge mistake with black. He played with knight takes d4. Knight takes d4 was a big mistake because it allows white to create a very strong center. Instead, queen f6 would have kept the game totally unclear. But after knight takes d4, c takes d4, I think white has big advantage because of queen d3. There is no reason to be worried about the weakened pawn structure on the king side, because in reality black king is extremely weak. And this is what have happened in the game. After takes, bishop h, white has very strong center. After bishop h5, e5, very nice move, opening the center for the queen, and diagonals for the queen, for the bishop, and so on. And d5, bishop b3, white has pretty much crushing attack. So last final question here for you guys. After, if you follow the game, you for sure know the solution, but if you didn't, so here's the problem. What to do here with white after move a4? This is the last position for today, and after which we will conclude. But I think it's good to leave it at this moment because it was the main missed chance here for Magnus. There, everything else later in the game was also winning. He had some chances, of course, but you know, nothing was as clear as it was right now in this particular moment. Find the win for white. E6 is not good. I'll just take your bishop. Queen f5. Okay, I mean e6, okay, you can play this, but I will just give your bishop, take your bishop. If you play e7, I will just give up the exchange, give up the rook. I will be the only exchange down, and this is completely unclear. Other move, queen f5, just bishop g6, I think I win. But king h1, yes, king h1. King h1 is the best move. The point is, right now, basically, we are going after this king. There is no reason to defend this bishop on b3. And basically, right now, the idea is to play rook g1 and just checkmate. And the point is after king after a takes b3, rook g1, king h8, and now what white would do? The key move of the combination. The key move is right now. The key move of king h1 combination is to play right now what? e6, correct. There we go. e6, and basically bishop comes to e5, and the game is just over. The game is just over. Bishop comes to e5, it's just checkmating attack. Let's say after f6, we can just play queen f5, queen e8, bishop e5. It's just totally over, and yeah, and the game is over, pretty much. And then bishop g6 right now. I can start with this as well, but again, rook g1, king h7, rook takes g6, pawn takes, simply rook g1, bringing final piece to the game. After rook f5, simply bishop c2. It's simply over. It's totally over. So yeah, okay. The rest of the game, there was still some chances here for Magnus as well, but this was not so, I think, important. And I think the king h1 was the key idea that Magnus made. Okay, he saw king h1, but he didn't see e6. So this was his main missed chance in this game, because the rest was already very unclear. Even though, according to engines, he was still winning and had some great chances, but it wasn't, as I say, at human level that clear as it was after king h1 and then finding e6. So yes, that's all I have, I think, for today. I think I covered pretty much all the important moments, or almost all important moments from all the games that they played, and that's all I have. So I hope it was instructive. So take care, guys. I will see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye.